Hi everyone, this is Radull Live. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk about a sport that most of you are not familiar with, but before we get there, I need to say happy birthday to Betika. Betika turned 6 years old a couple of weeks ago, so we are running 36 days of celebration in which there is 36 million shillings to be won. Every Monday to Saturday you can win 1 million shillings on betika.com or on the Betika app, but you need to log in at 6 a.m. in the morning. Yes, so take part in 6 weeks of Betika and you stand to win that 1 million shillings. Remember to bet responsibly and strictly not for people under the age of 18 years. Now, let me get into the world of speed skating, to be specific. So today we're joined by the president of the Speed Skating Federation of Kenya, Anthony Mburu. How are you doing, Anthony?
I'm very fine. How are you doing?
Hey, you've dressed so well. I had to change my costume. I was in a t-shirt.
It's not really.
And then, of course, Geoffrey Ssendegeyo. Have I said that correctly?
Yeah, Geoffrey Ssendegeyo.
Geoffrey Ssendegeyo. We'll call you Jeff for today.
Okay.
Speed skating, not as a sport we all know what it is. A sport I didn't even know until recently that it actually has a federation and we actually compete internationally. But Jeff, let me start with you. Tell us how you got into speed skating of all sports.
Before, I never knew anything about speed skating up until 2011 after I completed my high school. So I visited my cousin and he happened to have this pair of like rollerblades. We call them normal rollerblades or other full boots. And they were just under his bed. And I was like, okay, what are these? Let me try them. I tried them on, and then they were living someplace in Embakasi. Embakasi is usually very crowded with people, and you usually find like one apartment has like over 1,000 people. So I went to the balcony, and my first attempt was put on the shoes, hang on the grills of the house, and then I tried to push myself. I remember there were some buckets of water and some water basins. I remember breaking a few of them. And that was a feeling that I had not experienced before, and I thought it would be a good idea if I tried to explore further and find out like, okay, what is this? So the next Sunday, I remember I went to Taj Mahal before it was brought down, and I was bold enough to challenge some of the best skaters around there. Unfortunately, I fell and dislocated my wrist, and it was not a good ordeal. So I ran back home and tried to hide from the fact that I broke my hand from skating. After some time, I was back on track, but I did not go back to the skating part. So I stayed out of skating until back in around 2015. That's when I tried skating again. 2011, I was 19. I was turning 19. So back in 2015, I decided to try it again. And this time I was for the idea, okay, I usually see a lot of people at Aga Khan Walk, so let me go and try and find out what they are doing. I met some friends and we formed a clique of 3 best friends whereby we could go around trying to learn this and that. I didn't know about speed skating, but there was a kind of a clause that was going around that if you want to be known that you are a good skater, it's either you are part of the national team or you are part of the speed skaters. So when the speed skaters were skating, everyone would just sit back and enjoy the show. It was more of like
they were superstars.
Yeah, superstars. So we just sit back and say, I wish I could be like this guy. I wish I could be like this guy. But then I took a challenge upon myself, and then I was like, I should try this. I went to one of the coaches I remember back then, and I tried to borrow a pair of speed skates and try them on. It was not a very good experience at first time because I was told I did not fit, and it was really humiliating back then. But well,
what do they mean by fit?
But like sijafika, yeah, I'm not there yet. But yeah, you know, when you take a speed skate for the first time and you were used to rolling in the normal skates, which usually have their support up until past your ankle, it's usually a little bit difficult with the support on the ankle part. So 2015, 2016, around 2017, I met Coach Fred. By then we were planning for a tournament that was taking place in Bungoma. And I really wanted to compete because I felt that I was of a ripe age in the competition scene. So why not try this sport? Well,
But you had been training all along.
I was training, but with a normal skate, a recreational skate. It's usually not that fast enough, but it can make you go a little bit fast. So I thought I was fast, and shock on me when I went to the tournament. It was
Baptism of fire.
Baptism of fire would be an understatement. I was shocked how really people can go that fast. I thought like I was really fast, and I was like, now I want to learn everything that has to be learned in matters of skating and make sure I become as good or as better as the people I was competing with.
So until that point, you'd been kind of fluking it.
Yeah.
Now you wanted to do it professionally.
Now I wanted to do it professionally. That was in 2017. So research. Then I think around 2017, there was so much information going around whereby I could find all the information regarding skating, what to do to become a better skater, what to do to improve on your skating technique and all that, all the technicalities of good skating technique. And I used to get a video on YouTube, try to slow it down, if at all it meant having it in slow motion, so that I can grasp every bit, every aspect of that video and try to internalize it and then try to apply it. And slowly, 2017, 2018, I started getting better. And then at that time, my head coach, he traveled abroad, so I was given the task of being the head coach of the club. So here I am, I'm like a newbie in the game. I don't know much about skating, and I've been tasked to head the club affairs in matters of training. If there's a tournament happening, I have to be the one taking the team there. It was a big task, and it was a really big shoe to try and fit in. But I took the challenge positively, and like I said, through research, internalization, application, we began to build slowly.
I'll come back to your story. I want to bring the president of the federation in, Anthony Mburu.
Yes.
Anthony, you were a skater yourself before you became part of the management team.
Yeah.
How did you get into skating? You don't look like a skater, but maybe you.
He is a skater.
Even now.
Yeah.
I'm a good skater actually, and coincidentally, I used to practice the speed skating discipline, to be precise, professionally. So roller sports, let me say, roller skating is very diverse. It's not like other sports. When you talk about football, it's football, or basketball, it's basketball. Skating is so many sports in one sport. Like every sport that rolls, if you've seen a skateboard out there, you're rolling. If you've seen guys playing hockey, you're rolling. If you've seen guys playing handball on skates, which is a roll ball, it's still skating. So the federation that we are leading is Kenya Federation of Roller Skating, so which is the umbrella body for all roller sports in the Republic of Kenya. So it's an affiliate of the World Skate, which is again the body in charge of all disciplines of. So just look at it, just to give a breakdown to the average person watching out there. It's like, look at a country where we have the national government and county governments. So there is one umbrella body, but inside them, there are so many disciplines that could be a federation by themselves. So when you talk about roller speed skating, there is speed skating, there is freestyle skating, there is inline hockey, inline alpine, artistic skating, skateboarding. All those are federations within Kenya Federation of Roller Skating. So coincidentally, we just happen to have speed skating to be the most popular, very competitive, and a fun sport, which now my heart is more inclined there, because that is what I found. We're trying to grow all the other disciplines, but this is the most popular, the most competitive. So
and you skated yourself?
Right now I can skate. I actually bought such skates just the other day for my birthday. I bought myself a shoe that I've been dreaming to buy for the longest time. I spent more than $3,000 buying this boot.
That's how much they cost?
Not depending.
Depending
of
on
course,
the
sports
level.
is very
Yeah.
expensive,
Yeah.
depending on what you're getting. So Jeff can tell you now there are different kinds of the frame itself, the boat itself, the wheels and all that. Now back to your
You can actually
question.
lift it up.
Yeah.
Since you're above the skates.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So this is the roller speed boot. So as you said, is a number 40. With this shoe goes just above your ankle. This is for the professionals. This is for the speed skating. These are the second biggest wheel. I think it's a 110.
Yeah.
And this is the 125.
Yeah.
But this is the boat that probably he could compete with you driving your car and can beat you.
They've overtaken me on the highway. Let me not.
I bet you. So back to your question, how did I start skating
You
and
can
when
put it down.
did that start? My first time roller skating, actually, it's very funny because I saw it somewhere in Mburu. There was a guy called Sam who coincidentally was, how can I call it? Was like my sister's what? So I see this guy every evening coming to hang around, and the guy is just dancing and moving very fast, and I'm like,
Impressing your
what is?
sister.
Yeah. So I was very interested, and I actually tried it out using his skates, and I was like, give me that. You're just doing this, and he's like, no, Apana, you should do this, and I'm like, leave it. So you're just doing this, and I can see whatever you're doing. So my first time to try skating that day, I actually broke my arm again. Like that is how it all starts. I broke my arm, but
you
I was
have not
very
been initiated until you have broken something.
Of course, you have to break bones. It's an extreme sport, very interesting. And now, seeing it back in 2010, I think. So 2010, just finishing high school. So I look at this roller. It's very addictive. Let me say that. You start skating, and before you know, it's very addictive. If you see the youngsters right now, I think every kid out there in the estates, in every school, is roller skating. So fast forward 2014, late 2013, I come to Nairobi, and now I'm using those boots that I was talking about, just the average boots. They come all the way up. So that's where everybody starts. So before you go to this kind of different, trying the extreme professional levels. So I come to Nairobi in late 2013, at the Sunken Park, the famous park on Sundays. They're skating there.
In Aga Khan Walk.
Aga Khan
down there,
Walk, the Sunken.
Insurance Plaza.
Yeah. So when I come there and I see a very small boy, he's been an inspiration to the sport at large, Hasnain.
Yeah.
And I see Hasnain is, I think, this size. A very small boy who's riding this kind of wheel. And he's just maneuvering, going very fast.
Shaming
And
you.
I was like, what is this? Like, it really intrigued me. And I remember, like, 2 weeks later, I was able to raise some 30K by then. Mike sold me a speed boot, a Bond speed boot, a second hand. Like it was, I don't know, raising that money and trying to buy that boot and convincing my mom and doing whatever I had to do. It was, I don't know, but
Investing in the sport.
yeah, I really loved it. So I tried it out. By then, it wasn't so popular. We didn't have guys like what Jeff now is doing as a professional speed skater. You could count them. There were probably like 6 or 7 guys who back then were in the national team, and I was like, I can do this, I can join. And by then they were running an inline cup. They were calling Mamlaka Hill Inline Championships or something.
Yeah.
So I had to train hard for that to join that Mamlaka thing. So coincidentally, I don't know. I always say there's a slogan in life. I know how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're not that person who just walks into a space and sits on the sidelines, you're like, when you go in, you go all in. So when I came in, I kind of felt the urge of being like a sports activist. So I didn't stay for long being a skater. I progressed very fast. I joined that small clique. I think we were like 7 or 8 guys who were doing so well in skating back then. And these skates were very limited. You could not see a speed boot anywhere. If you saw it, like, I don't know, you really have to. It was for the chosen few. There were less than, I don't know, maybe you could count them. 20, 30 boots. There are so many right now in Kenya. So when I joined that team in 2014, there was something that was going on. There was a change in the Sports Act and how governance in sports was being done. And there was a movement saying we want our sports back, and bringing a new face of educating sports federations in how to run them professionally. And that is how you saw now the new face of these sports management faces. If it was football, Nyamoya went home and you saw the Nick Mwendoas. So that is how I came into office. It wasn't my thing. I wasn't looking forward to like hang my boots and be on the management side. It was a coincidence because now we are going on. I'm like, I think I like this course and we can join in. And I found myself investing too deep, like emotionally. And before you know, oh, we need to do elections. And before you know, Tony, you should. So I got myself.
Because as a sports person,
Yes.
I guess it also affected you how you were being managed, and you think I can do this better, or I know what the problems are of a sports person. Let me go in and
Yes.
try and fix some of these issues.
I don't. I can. To be honest, I don't think even the previous management. My previous president was Mwangi Moshiri, did a very awesome job in regards to sensitizing or making like what you're trying to do right now. People don't know about some of these sports, and we've come a long way in terms of the organic growth of now people getting to accept that this is a sport. It's actually there. The ministry can actually acknowledge, oh, these are guys we can support and all. So it was just in the early stages. They've come a long way and they had done what they needed to do to get to where we had gotten to. So I wouldn't really say that I was feeling, oh, we need change. I hadn't gotten there because I hadn't enjoyed as much as maybe Jeff has enjoyed so far. Seeing, oh, Akina Tony working for us, or are they not? Because he's been doing it now for like now from 2017, trying to do it professionally. It's like 5-6 years. So he's seen it, he's been there, and at this point maybe he can comment, this is what I would want different. This is because oftentimes it's like wananchi always saying, oh, we want change, but
exactly?
a few guys really have an idea of if you're actually in that position, there is nothing much you could do. You can only you can come and run. This is a public office and is a system.
It has structures.
Yes, has structures, processes, and it has to be organic. It can only take a certain course.
It's easier for us
the guys,
critics.
yeah, the critic is always. So I didn't take that approach. Actually, where we took it over, I feel like they had done a very nice job, a very, very good job. But now in the recent past, now having more guys skating, more coaches going to schools, doing that sensitization at the grassroots level has really gotten us to where now we can have a national discussion and say, skating is a sport, we need to be heard and all that kind of stuff. Because when I got elected by there, coincidentally, I think we had only 17 clubs at that election. That's a national election.
17 clubs.
17 clubs.
Eek.
And right now we are in the thousands. So
Fantastic.
so it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see how we've come along. Yeah, that progression. So right now we are almost, we took the baby steps. We're almost there where there is enough momentum that has been gained. We just need to give everybody the guidelines of now how set the structures right. Everybody understands where they fit in, what is their role, how do you get help, how do you, because we're still working, every federation is struggling to align themselves now with that new Sports Act and the ministry, and how we relate in regards to now creating, devolving our structure of governance, having county associations, having clubs affiliate with the county associations, and the associations have a national representation of where we form an executive, and we're able to create independent departments that are able to, if it's about speed skating, then I have somebody, we call them speed skating directors or departmental directors who are like, that's the president of speed skating. So maybe those are things that maybe an athlete would never understand. So if I come to him, he is more inclined to speed. So the freestyler will only know freestyle skating. The roller inline hockey guy will only know roller inline hockey. So they expect, oh, Tony, you're supposed to be. And
everywhere.
I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, the only time I come in is maybe like right now what we just recently completed our national trials for the World Championships that is coming up in mid-July in Birmingham, USA. So for the speed skating. So such events, you'll find me there. So my connection with now forming a national team that is going to represent the country, and together with the ministry, we are able to send a team out there too. So
it's a lot of
that is when my presence.
Let me bring Jeff back in before
Yes.
we get to and I want to discuss the World Championship just now.
Yeah.
What are some of the competitions you've managed to participate in over the last 5 years or so that you've been Can I say professional?
Yeah.
Can I call it professional?
Yeah.
Or semi-professional? It's professional. The level you're competing.
There has been quite a number of competitions that have taken place since I joined speed skating in 2017. And I can say that you go attend a certain event, and then maybe you see 1, 2, 3 things that needs to be improved and stuff. So there's been, like you've said, there's been competitions back to back. But one thing we do with our club is that before we commit to attend or participate in a competition, first we need to sit down and see if it's a worthy event to go and participate in. Is it going to challenge our athletes? And what experience is it going to impact on our athletes at the same time? So the competitions are there, but now they have to be approached from a club's perspective. But for me, if I have to go to a competition, then it's in one way or the other, I have to tag along with my entire club. So competitions, we have gone to competitions in Kilifi, we've gone to competitions in Mombasa, and just around 2019, when we were preparing for a group that was supposed to go compete in Europe, Corona struck, and then everything went silent. So we developed a plan whereby we started conducting our own competitions inside the club. This enabled our club to stay on its feet and keep the competition spirit still going on. These competitions, we were able to do some in Nairobi. We did others in Nakuru with a purpose and a mission to make sure that the kid in Nakuru who is part of our club can still be able to compete with a kid in Nairobi who is still in the same club. The reason for doing that was because in Nairobi, most skaters tend to think that the best skaters are in Nairobi. I don't know why that is. And if the best skaters are thought to be in Nairobi, why don't we take this best skater in Nairobi and go compete with this skater in Nakuru or in Kisumu and make him or her
better,
catch up with the better one? So that way, we managed to lift every standard of every skater in our club to the point whereby if we go to any competition, they are able to outperform others. A good example is last year in December. This was just after the lockdown was lifted and the ministry allowed us to be able to hold competitions. Our club performed really great. Our participants were almost winning in every category. And then after Mombasa, the last tournament we had was I think 3 weeks ago, 10th of April. Our club organized a tournament, National SSC Speed Skating Championship. Actually, I think it's one of the tournaments I've been whereby we had over 31 clubs registering and we had around 321 participants. It was well done. We made sure that every aspect that if we attended a tournament we thought it was not touched, it was touched and well attended and considered. So in the tournament, the 42 kilometers marathon was won by one of my club member. His name is Andrew. We also had quite tough competition because it was more of a photo finish against the former champion, who is still a very, very great skater. And all the competitors who participated in the event can bear witness that it was an event that was marvelously done. And personally, I can attest that I felt my heart was contented by what happened. And if we can have more competitions of that caliber, then I'm very sure speed skating in Kenya is going to take the world levels by storm.
Very soon.
Yeah.
I want us to take a very short break. When we come back, I want us to discuss the World Championship, going international, and then, of course, what more can be done in terms of facilities, in terms of corporate support, in terms of fan support. So that discussion is coming up after a bit. Guys, don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
It's Betika's 6th anniversary. At Hatupigi sherehe siku moja tu au siku 6 pekee. Tunapiga sherehe for 6 weeks. 6 weeks of sherehe. 6 weeks of betika. Na tunapeana 6 mili kila wiki.
6 million kila wiki.
Kabisa. Mili kila siku kutoka Monday hadi Sato. Check out our social media pages every day at 6 a.m. to find out how you can win and join the celebrations. Celebration starts on Monday 18th April and goes on till the end of the season. Betika, jukwaa la mabingwa.
Welcome back. This is Radull Live. Yes, guys, just a reminder to go to betika.com and find out how you can take advantage of the 36 days of celebration. 36 million shillings to be won. Of course, several weeks have gone by, so time is running out. But every morning, Monday to Saturday, 6 a.m., go to betika.com or log on to the Betika app and find out how you could be a 1 million shillings winner. Remember to bet responsibly, and betting is strictly for people over the age of 18 years. Now, I am here with a team from the
Kenya Federation of Roller Skating.
Federation of Roller Skating. You told me it's not only speed skating. Anthony Mburu, you're the president of the Kenya Federation of Roller Skating.
Call it Roller Sports Kenya.
Roller Sports Kenya,
yes,
which you have broken down is not just speed skating.
Yes.
But then we also have Geoffrey
Ssendegeyo.
Ssendegeyo,
Yeah.
who is a speed skater. And before the break, we were talking about how well run the sport is on a national level.
Yes.
I want us to go international. Tony, you mentioned we're going for the World Championship in July in Birmingham. Have we been participating on the international scene, and how would you rate us?
Before I go there, I would like to comment. Actually, when you have Geoffrey here, their club, Sprint Skating Club, I would like to give a shout out. It's good to give credit where it's due. Has been doing so well in regards to taking skating seriously and particularly producing the best speed skating athletes that we have in the country. So if I was to rate the clubs out there, I think their club is doing over and above
Sprint Skating
Club. So they are doing so well. So if we had like 50 more clubs doing the same, then that dream of where the sport needs to be could be probably achieved. They're doing so well. So I'm proud of him and proud of their club, because I can see what they've been doing over the past like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And the consistency of growth and producing more athletes and nurturing more, if that has to be done, if there's a club to benchmark guys out there, other clubs out there, if there's a club to go benchmark from, then it has to be sprint skating. So now back to that World Championship thing. So yeah, for the last so many years, even before I took over, we've had, let me call it, a chance to go expose our speed skaters in international competitions, particularly the World Championships, which is could be the most competitive level of like the speed skating itself. And how it has been and where we stand as a country, this is a very technical sport. When Jeff was talking about watching a clip and slowing it down to watch the technicals, let me call it the technical, because I'm a speed skater, I know how this thing works. You don't just skate. He can leverage his body mass to propel this boot by one of like the techniques we call the double push technique. And when everybody else is busy chasing guys in that drafting position, then somebody else is just having an easy time, not using any energy. Your body must to. So it is very precise, very detailed. When you talked about a photo finish, talked about, there's a word he mentioned, photo finish or transponders. It's a sport where improving the quality of what you did last year is we are checking microseconds. Like it is a thin line between being a world champion or breaking a record. And so when you talk about that, there are so many details we are looking at, including this button. I'm telling him, he knows. If he had like a better frame, which is a carbon fiber frame, it is way lighter than this. It would save him a lot of energy. It would make him perform better in terms of his speed skating. What can I talk about? I don't know. When I talk about speed, I'm like, I'm into it. I'm way
assuming
deep.
It's more expensive though
Yeah,
to get
it
a
is.
better.
So mostly it's not about looking at the cost, it's looking at what
Yeah.
what you are looking at is going to,
Because ideally every sport is
impact on what you are
expensive.
doing.
And if we are going to have the best at the national level, if we're going to compete at the international level, then I don't think it's not that expensive anyway.
But
Anyway,
my
what the
question is,
yes,
if carbon whatever is going to make
Fiber.
you faster,
yes,
why don't you have a carbon fiber?
okay,
Frame.
it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's down to the
Just,
facilities.
Right,
Yeah.
it's expensive. Okay, let's talk about facilities and this kind of stuff because okay,
Yeah.
number one, it's a roadshow. Maybe the kind of exposure that our athletes we have so far. So the sport has grown, more people rolling,
Yep.
but the kind of facilities we are using, or the kind of you could be in the right attire, you could even have the right boot, but the facility itself that is you're going to meet out there, the world championship standard. We have the standard like if it is a 200 meters banked track or a 400 meters road track, we don't have a single rink in the Republic of Kenya or a skate park anywhere that is designated. This is a skating area, or it was designed to be that world standard that you're going to meet. So for the first time, it's like you're going to practice on the
On a
standard
professional
that
course, so
on a
to speak,
yeah.
on pitch.
And
for
whoever you're
better
competing
understanding, yeah.
against, they've seen this their entire life.
They
since
train on that.
childhood. So most of us, as you've heard, we've trained how to skate when we are grown-ups. So maybe the kids we are raising, they've had an experience to grow with the sport from a very tender age. So now the professional athletes out there that you're meeting, they are coached to be professional speed skaters from down there with the right kind of attire, with the bank tracks. And so when you go out there, I won't say we are able to fly that flag high on the world standard level, maybe probably African standard, because as African country, in September we'll also be having an African championships in Egypt, Cairo. That is late in September, 28th to early October. So that one is a bit friendly because you're like, I'm with my African comrades who probably are using the same tarmac
Facilities as
roads,
I-
facilities and all that. But world standards, I would say if we had those facilities here, and we've had to put these athletes in a camp, or they had chance to train with the right kind of attires, the boots, the rink, the everything, then we would say we stand a chance. As of now, they are doing way
So
beyond.
experience and exposure for the time being.
The times are not that bad. They are very, I think for marathons, because marathon is a road like any other. Even when they go out there, it's a road like they've done the marathons or the super highway or wherever. So those ones you'll find them performing very well because they are used to shika barabara and we go. But this thing of going round in circles is a technique of how you guys even interchange, and you can imagine this guy now skating next to a world champion. Then you're thinking technique, you're thinking the ground, you're thinking I don't want to.
You're
to make
learning
this,
as you're competing. which
Yeah.
So it's
makes
too
it
much to
difficult.
take in. So for now, I still feel like to a better part is like exposure.
Have we made a case to the government, whose responsibility it is to build infrastructure?
Yeah, so we have for the last few years we have had now the government has been supportive, let me say that, but I don't know, the problem with the government is that there is this culture of Radull Karo is in charge of sports today, and maybe I'm following up with Caro in regards to a discussion we've had for so long. I've launched communications and formal letters and everything, gone through the right way that you've been advised to get a location for space, get a facility to be developed, and before you know, now that guy is out and somebody else is come, and
the conversation starts again.
Starts over.
That's
also,
so
who are you?
frustrating.
Introduce yourself. So what are we trying to do? At some point, you're like, we go to Kasarani. This is your spot. And the next thing you know, even doing a qualifiers in a aquatic stadium, just a parking lot, is a problem. Like, I don't know. We've had challenges, but we are straight.
But it's unfortunate because heaven forbid you go to Birmingham and do well. We don't want to be on your side, you know. Yet we've not helped you to get there, which is a bit frustrating.
So I feel if government would actually do that, which isn't much. Actually, every county, every constituency out there can there is public land out there, and can get 400 meters of tarmac, and it's nicely done. Nowadays, we know how to do the roads. Don't even do the standard bank track. Just do a very nice, neat roads like we are doing them. Very smooth. This boat needs very smooth for precision. Just do that. At least every county can do that. Just 400 meters of tarmac and a public space, because that's a public facility. Just do it. And kids get over
We're
there.
still trying to get the volleyballers indoor courts.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately we only have Kasarani and Nyayo, and
Nyayo,
yet they're training all over the country outdoors, but competition is played indoors.
Yes.
But at least for them, they have two. We have none.
You
have
zero.
none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a battle. It's a battle.
So I don't know, but I feel now we are okay. Maybe to comment on that, we are way closer to getting a skating park or some skating parks than because back then we've also evolved as a country, as a culture, and as a people. We've evolved. Nowadays, at least we can commend the government. They are getting a few things done. They are getting a few things done, and you can lobby your way, whether privately or whatever. You can get your way into getting those parks done. And as ourselves too, we were small kids trying to grow up when we started this sport, and right now we could know
somewhere.
Yeah, so we
progress.
could be at a place where we can push a few buttons, and with the crowds behind us now, we can get a track or two. I'm very optimistic about that. Probably this year we could get a rink or two.
Where are we financially with this sport? Because I'm assuming this guy has bills.
Yeah.
Do they get paid by the sport? And where are we in terms of sponsorship? Let me come to you first.
Yeah.
Does speed skating pay?
I don't want to say it does not pay, and I don't want to say it pays, because it's a question of what you are doing, how you are doing it, where you are doing it, and who you are doing it for. Speed skating currently does not pay, because I would imagine to say that by being paid, it's something whereby at the end of the month I'm expecting maybe a check from the government, maybe from the federation, or maybe from the county government, or maybe from different people or sponsors, because speed skating, it's still a young sport, as my president here said, and we are at that verge whereby we are approaching different sponsors and try to see if they can come on board and support us in acquiring 1, 2, and 3 of the equipments that are, to say, very expensive. For example, if you really need a good skating gear, you definitely have to order from abroad, because Kenya does not produce a skating equipment. Everything has to come from outside. So that brings in the question of customs, that brings in the question of tax and all that. But if you do like skating for the sake of teaching schools and such, well, you might be making something out of it. And our club is one whereby we are not focused on making the money, but making the athlete. Because if we are focused on making the money, then we'll forget the athlete. And at the end of the day, we'll make money, and then someone comes, lands, and then they go, and that's the end of it. So with our club, it's more different. Sprint Skating Club is about if someone shows the interest to learn the sport, we show them how to do the sport, and we cling on to them to make sure that once you learn to do the sport, then you can prosper and keep on doing the sport and try to make something out of it. By making something of it, I am imagining a situation whereby an athlete goes to compete against participants from outside the country. Our athletes go to compete against a world champions, and a situation whereby whenever training we are having, we are focused on making sure that whatever you are doing has to be done in a way that you are trying to beat the same time as the person who is currently the record holder of the search. For example, it's the recently concluded marathon that we tournament that we had. The marathon time that was put from that race was, I think, 1 hour 2-3 minutes there, and the current world championship that took place, I think it was in Barcelona before COVID hit. In Colombia, although that one happened when it was raining, so we can't use that time. For the Barcelona was 1 hour 1 minute something. So if you are comparing,
so not far off.
1 hour 1 minute and 1 hour 3 minutes, just a couple of a minute away from the other one. So it's more of like when we are training to make sure we beat that. But in order for that to happen, we have to make sure we have the same level of equipment. As the president said, I need to have a carbon wheel and all that. But well, I am a go-getter and I'm a fighter, and that's what I've taught all my students. So what you have, you need to use it to make sure you beat whoever has the best of the whole.
You have a good heart. Where are we financially?
No, they have it right. Huh? We are not on the wrong track, because I told you my journey from as a skater. I've also used. It's too unfortunate that when I was a bit fit and I could literally, because you need these fireways to do this speed skating. Now, when I had the energy to do this, I didn't get a chance to get that kind of a boot that the world standards in Apatikana. By the time I was able to buy myself that boot, unfortunately, I can't skate. I actually ended up donating that boot last weekend during the qualifiers, because I felt yangu inakaa kwa nyumba tu and somebody else could use it better. So I donated the entire kit to a guy in Mombasa. Now, in terms of finances and sponsorship, this is how I'm looking at it. There is somebody who made a comment just before this interview started, saying sports is headed in the right direction in terms of monetizing and commercializing this, because you have to look at it as a business when you talk about money. And looking at it as a business or getting the financial aid this guy is seek means the club is so organized, like we said, and we can see value in that. So whoever needs to put a penny in, because it's not charity, you need to see value for money.
It's a business.
And if on this side it's you guys are organized, then you realize you are attracting a big clientele of. And I don't think, by the way, there's a sport, and I can say this without fear of contradiction, there's a sport that can like gather crowds more or better than skating, because it is not indoors, it is done on the roads with so much traffic. Like if you were to do a tournament and block out a few streets in Nairobi or any town that we do,
stop and watch.
The kind of numbers that we have around and every household, if you were to influence we can confidently say, like right now, almost every household has personal interest or investment in the skating, because now every school does skating. So every kid is now skating. So when a parent is looking at this sport, is like, I'm investing in my kid's future. So this is how I look at the structure, and I'm trying now to sensitize the clubs to bring that bigger picture of how do we create value. If the structures are set right, the clubs understand what we are trying to do. At club level, I told you, if we had a few sprint skating clubs, and I'm using this example because I know very sure for a fact, if all clubs understood or was organized as sprint skating club is, and they're able to organize themselves into a club that is clubs in a county that are affiliated to a county association, and this county association, they have their leaders down there who are able to represent them at the national level, and then the different disciplines are able to, then the sport itself gets value to a point where, if we were to use an example of maybe rugby or football or anything, during the day-to-day times, we have, like, we could be running leagues or something where a player knows, I belong to Equity Football Club or whatever, or rugby belongs to. So they'll adopt skaters independently, And these skaters or these clubs compete against each other. So locally, the club has value or the sport has value. Then where we come in as a federation is now when these athletes need to come for the national selection and they need to represent their country internationally or regionally. So that is where we come in, and I can tell you for free, because we can't retain, this is not a sport that we can retain players full time. It's not a team sport, it's an individual sport. So those kind of sports, you cannot retain individuals full time and put them on salary. But when whoever, like the team that was selected, we're able to put them in a camp for 1 week prior to going, we're able to prepare them, like put them in a camp, they're leaving the hotel, they're on allowance, they're able to train, they're like prepped for the entire week. And the day they depart, they leave the hotel to the airport and they're out there on allowance all the way up to, that is, they are my full responsibility during that season. But any other time, we are trying to create the structures and understand, because now it's too unfortunate that all these other sports now we've had alumni who are now grown-ups who understand business or structures or how things are done. Now in skating, we're still kids who hardly know how things are done, and trying to organize them could be, and you understand, they're just growing up.
I would just like to see a time where,
Yes.
because I'm sure what happens now with Jeff is you have a side hustle.
Yeah.
You have a hustle that pays the bills,
Yes.
and then skating is the hobby. And unfortunately, that's, as a country, we see it wrong. We see like sport is that thing I do on the weekend to pass time, as opposed to
Yeah.
it is how I
It's a
pay my
full-time
rent. It
profession,
is
yeah.
how I pay
Yeah.
school fees for my children,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I would like to see such a time, but it is a young federation.
It is a
From
young
97,
federation
it's a very young federation.
that is growing up very fast, and we are slowly getting there. If there is now more, okay, I don't say sensitization because the sport is out there everywhere. We can probably say every estate, every household, every school now is getting.
It's not to monetize.
Just getting all these guys together, understand we have the power of the numbers. If these things, if you get the structures right, what you're trying to do, because it's an entire process now training these guys. Once we talk about business, this is how we need it to be done, and create these structures. And like I said, if we had more alumni who are coming back and teaching these guys how, this is how it's done, then it would be easier. Now it's kids and volunteers and people telling, go tell them we need, and there's a lot of chaos. Sometimes we would even find athletes being caught up in maybe official politics or club politics or leadership politics, and I'm like, if it was a
Focus on
normal
the
sport, discipline of an athlete and how they deal with their coaches and how is supposed to be paramount, because it shapes the character of this kid when they're growing. It's like military training. Whatever goes out there or how that thing is run or in a household is none of the kid's business. But you get that thing.
And it can affect the image of the sport. Because
Yeah.
I tell a lot of people, we have sports in this country like swimming, rugby. It also has issues like football. But for
Yes.
some reason, football likes, it's everybody's business. When they're fighting, everybody knows they're fighting.
Yeah.
So when you tell a corporate to sponsor a club,
Yeah.
they don't even realize it has nothing
Yeah.
to do with the federation.
Yeah.
They're like, you guys are corrupt and you're always fighting. You know,
Yeah.
the image is so important to a sport.
Is so important.
Whereas rugby, they keep their business behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Swimming behind closed doors. But you'll be surprised. Cricket, you'll be surprised these sports have problems more than those that are airing their dirty laundry
Ideally,
in
every
public,
federation has been going through a lot.
through a lot of challenges.
A lot of challenges, and to maybe athletes out there and guys who maybe would say I love skating or I love a particular sport and I love these guys and I would want to help them, just think twice before you go to, because now I've seen a true story like myself. I came with so much passion, so much, and I think when I was elected I was only 22 years. And at 22, I'm imagining these guys that I'm finding here, these are grown-ups, these are like my parents, they should be showing the way. And you go, and sometimes things happen, I'm like, I thought you guys are supposed to be the ones, you're grown-ups, you're
Guiding
supposed,
us.
because now it gets personal to a point where you're trying to pursue this, and I'm like, oh, let's, instead of nurturing the sport, let's take advantage of this situation. And they involve these guys, where now you find a corporate, a private company maybe wants to take this sprint
Partner
skating
with the
that
club,
they're
yeah.
doing and tell them, oh, I'm gonna take you for the world champions, and before you know, they've already poisoned their head, and we take a step back and say, okay, help them, because at the end of the day, we are all trying to help them. Before they know, They've used the skater. He's so embarrassed, come back to the federation because this guy lied to them, used them to go around media and collect money, and then dumped them. Then it becomes harder for them now to come back and so it's an entire mix-up that really worries me. It's an incident by the way that happened that ruined the momentum of this is a new lot that we're having. When we talk about, he's talking about the best skater I'm assuming ni kina Kama and Ssendegeyo.
Yeah.
Kamau have taught him how to skate back in 2015, I think. These are a very new lot that just recently came. Now talking about those guys that I met there and those that were skating, I don't think even these championships we had even one guy who competed. It's like those guys are just growing up and finding other stuff to do. Most of them are going just Qatar and wherever because it doesn't lead anywhere. And what happened? Kids were involved in politics that ended up being very nasty. Corporates that came on board ended up seeing that entire mess. And at the end of the day, it doesn't affect Anthony. Anthony's personal life goes on. Whoever we were trying to help is hurting. So think about that when you're out there, when you're trying to say, I'm helping Jeff, and that entire mess you're creating is hurting Jeff because that is what he does for a livelihood. Every day he's skating. An average skater may make... And
you want the next Jeff, and the next Jeff, and the next Jeff.
And I want Jeff to be, after he retires, he's a coach, he's the alumni, he's the brand ambassador. Like, we need these guys. We don't need guys coaches to exit in...
We have properly trained coaches in the country now.
It's so unfortunate, like when you talk about if somebody wanted to coach Jeff about speed skating, it's very, like I said, it's very technical and you ought to have been a speed skater, a very good speed skater to teach me how to speed skate, not be a coach. And that is what now we are like I'm saying, the first lot that is moving out, if they're not advancing towards keep doing this thing, at least even if you did it as a hobby because your heart belongs there. I've seen cycling like federation maybe have wrangles, their parallel bodies and all that, but you'll find those guys on the road every other weekend with long convoys of cars in front and behind and cyclists because they love the sport. At the end of the day, the people who love the sport have to keep it together to make sure that we are raising a generation that is evolving into something.
Believe it or not, we've spoken for an hour.
Sure. No, we haven't. So anyway,
50
that's
minutes.
It. That's it. Like
but for me, this has been a good introduction to speed skating and other skating disciplines.
Roller sports.
We saw the other day, is it skateboarding that has been adopted as an Olympic sport?
Yeah.
This one, Bado, speed skating, another skating, Bado.
There is the inline skating, which is using that blade on the ice. Is the same thing, but now a blade doesn't roll. It's a blade on the ice. Those ones, fortunately, they have been able to go into Olympics.
But Winter Olympics or normal Olympics?
Those Winter Olympics.
Those are Winter Olympics, yeah.
So these one not yet bad. And unfortunately, if skateboarding imefika huko, locally we still haven't gotten skateboarders because they need parks. You've seen parks out there, the ones, those carved whatever. Yeah. They don't have places to train. We can't present a team. This year we are trying at least to do maybe speed. I plan to also expose the freestyle guys. They've been coming up so well for the World Championships. It's happening the same season. So I'll maybe take the two disciplines for the World Championship. So, but so far so good. We can't really most of the times we always look at the negative we are complaining. I think as a sport we've grown as a people.
There's growth, there's progress. Let's applaud it.
Yeah.
But let's also see how we can take the sport to the next level.
Next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Geoffrey.
Yes.
One day your day will come. Your day will come when you're winning medals on the
My day is already here.
He's almost there.
International, it's there. It's there. I believe and I like your spirit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Keep it up. And we'll keep these guys in check to make sure they look after you well.
No, they always keep us in check. Jeff atupumzishangi.
But thank you guys. Thank you guys for coming on Radull Live. Anthony Mburu, the president of
Roller Sports Kenya.
That one.
That, yes.
And Jeff with a difficult surname.
Geoffrey Ssendegeyo.
Ssendegeyo.
Yes.
Yeah, from
when you win that medal, trust me, we'll learn that name. It will be rolling off our tongue.
Yeah.
So all the best to you guys. And thank you guys for watching Radull Live. I hope you've learned a thing or two about skating. And you'll support them. When you see them there at Aga Khan Walk or anywhere in the country, give them your support so that they too can grow. But thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week.